Does that mean that you got to be uncomfortable first to become
Always.
comfortable?
Always. Nobody ever learned anything from being comfortable. Always. And I will say this over again. I have learned more from my failures than ever from my successes.
You spent several years in media, and media then and media today is extremely different. But then the intent of the media when it comes to attention and all, is it the same where it was to then and also today?
Okay, so I spent a good number of years, almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
So I don't think the purpose of media has changed. I just think the delivery mechanism has changed, and we have to, call the elephant in the room, which is like, are we adapting to it or not? Attention has always been the currency, and I keep telling people this. So it is, these days, because we are producers ourselves, every time you take a photo and put a selfie, you become a producer. You're producing media. So we are media owners ourselves. Those days, TV stations, radio stations, magazines, maybe a little bit of outdoor, were the media owners. So now, I would say to me is very simply, we have put the ownership back into the regular people. So media has changed. We have to be cognizant of that. Yeah.
Right. And are we building leaders through this media attention and all?
Definitely. But it amplifies who you are, or it amplifies who you're not. So we can bring in the whole song and dance about I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I'm good at this. But without context, without actually depth, you'll be found out very fast also.
Right.
Like a classic example was Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty was, in last few years or in the last 12 months, he's gone through some predicament because people delve into that deeper. So I'm trying to say, you cannot fake it to make it. That will only happen for a while, So you can build to that, but you're going to be sussed out if you don't have depth.
So it's all about perception to some extent?
Yes and no. You can't, how would you say, you can't glorify something that's not. You can say, I give you a simple example, and I always tell people this. I said, remember that Akka Nasi Lemak who was famous in Sambal, and everybody spoke about her. But her nasi lemak was average, right? But could she sustain it or not? So don't confuse virality or sudden impact to long-term growth or long-term sustenance. So that's why people struggle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And also today, we see a lot of people want to be thought leaders, right? And we see LinkedIn, it's flooded with so many things.
Yes.
How do we know this is real thought leaders?
We won't. Really, we won't. But eventually, I guess a lot of things. Like right now, I can go in and I can copy this whole transcribe this audio, and I can build it into 5 different things. But the ability for me to actually understand it and to regurgitate in my own style is the difference. We all can say the same thing, different ways, but experience is another thing.
Right. And you've written books and you run your own podcast as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of your conversations around leadership, right? Who has the right to teach leadership? Is that somebody who's been there, or someone has got the scars? Or
I tell this very, very openly. I said, some of my best teachers and leaders were not corporate leaders, because, and I hate to be so blunt about this, it's dime a dozen, So, but my best teacher, my best finance teacher was my mother. My best teacher about engagement was my father, who told me be nice to everybody. My best teacher on leadership and stuff was my late Guru. I studied martial arts, so he taught me. So these are not conventional leadership. So we tend to think that leadership needs to be taught by a book, it needs to have context, but it's not traditionally how you look at leadership. Yeah.
So how do we teach leadership?
by example. How can you talk about anything if you don't know about anything?
Right.
So everything that I talk, my books I've written is the truth. It's honesty about my failures. I've learned more about leadership through failures than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you conduct your sessions on leadership, etc., what comes out very clearly that there's a lack of knowledge in existing leaders or future leaders?
I wouldn't say there's a deficit or shortage. I just think there is a lack of true experience. You cannot, like, I went to one session. I was a participant in one of these sessions, and that person was 29 years old talking about life. I mean, somehow there's an oxymoron there, right? So again, like I said, you need to have depth. I'm not undermining anybody here, but you need to have the experience in the sense that you need to have that, you like fallen in the trenches, pick yourself up. Otherwise, you pick up everything from a book, from whoever that you're following at the moment and in trend, and then you're picking it up. And there's no relevance there.
Yeah. In terms of your own journey, back in the 90s, I mean, you were our really famous DJ back then.
No, that was actually longer than that, but yeah.
I mean, as far as I can remember,
Okay.
right? So when I was growing up, so in a way, it's like a fanboy moment now.
Thank you. Actually, people remember me more as Jake Man than anything else. It's really weird.
It's always the Jake Man and Skeletor back
That's
then.
right.
Mm-hmm. So in the mid 90s, you were a music director.
I started as a music director in 1996.
Then you became the CEO of Astro.
No, I had about 12 promotions before I became CEO. So from a music director, I became a content director, then I became a group content director, then I became a general manager, then it just went on until I became COO. Then when I was COO, Chief Content Officer, CCO, I left and joined Datuk Sri Najib's I'm For You. I ran that for almost 14 months. Post-election, I came back to Astro as CEO.
Yeah. So a lot of people would be thinking today, I want to be a CEO at one point, right? But what do I do to be a CEO? You've been through that journey, and you've been through, like you said, 12 promotions before you get to a CEO. It's not like you just jump one many skips and then you went to a CEO. So what can
I never wanted to be a CEO. That was never on my, I get up in the morning and I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a rock star, but I never wanted to be a CEO. The word CEO didn't exist when I was a young boy. It was always, if you're a general manager, already reached that heights, right? So no, my premise was always, how can I be a better person today, tomorrow, and then move from there? And it was always that. And one of the skills that I have is I can outwork anybody. I'm not smart. I'll tell you straight away, I'm not very smart. I'm of average intelligence, but my tenacity is different. I can work from 4 o'clock in the morning and then not complain about it. So that took everybody out of the equation for me. Yeah.
So when you've hit that stage of being CEO and being in touch with all these personalities and VIPs and all, some people may become larger than life.
They may lose it,
They may.
So
it's between ego and stuff. So how was that in your experience?
I'm very grounded in the sense that, like I said, my martial arts background has taught me to be very grounded. So regardless of what Tuesdays and Thursdays I used to teach, right? Second thing is I'm an introvert. I don't traditionally like crowds. So in the 20 years as running Astro Radio, I went for one award show, one concert, maybe one movie because that's me. So that helped a lot. Traditionally, I am very uncomfortable in crowds. So not that I complain, but even for weddings, I try to stay away. So yeah, so that helped me. So when you talk about ego, and you can get lost in this very fast because, and I speak about this quite frequently, nobody cares about who you are. They care about the title.
Right.
And I saw that disappear very fast. Raja, you'll be very shocked, the minute that within few days, it disappeared. Yeah.
Right. Would you be able to tell me or tell us, the audience out there, moments that you have felt the ego and you have taken a step back and said, no, this one has to stop? Can you recall any of these moments?
Yeah, it can be very flattering, from a boy from whose father never owned a car, owned a car, really tough life, and then suddenly you had almost the world at your feet. I got a driver, I got 2 secretaries, I got, and at that point, you can actually lose focus on the context that people are actually paying you for the job you're doing, and you might forget that this is all just a facade. I'm very fortunate that my mother keeps me in check. I'm very, very fortunate because, her father was somebody very affluent. So he was like a top engineer for CEB at that point, which is in Johor State. My father was a simpleton, but my late mentor, who was my martial arts teacher, kept me grounded. Never gave me, oh, wow, you're a CEO. No. Kept me grounded. Says, what's the next move? What are you going to do? So that kept me very grounded. And that's why, if you notice, I'm a very simple person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in your journey, there's a lot of ups and downs, or too many ups and downs.
Too many.
So as a leader, when there's a failure, a lot of people will feel a bit reserved, and some may not want to pursue that kind of responsibility anymore, but it's so overwhelming, right? But some are able to just get past that and move on. But so it shows there's a point where they can maybe not forget it, but they get past it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what makes someone to pass that stage?
Okay, it's very, very simple, and I tell people this. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to be shocked with the answer. You know the what do you call that? The Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Who do you think are the best people to apply for the Navy SEALs?
Very fit.
Absolutely wrong. The number one people who apply for the Navy SEALs are actually insurance salesmen. Do you know why? It's grit. Have you seen an insurance salesman? How many times they go through failure before they get one success rate? So the resilience and grit is, to me, the number one determinant of your success.
Right.
See, I am not afraid to fall.
Right.
And that makes me very dangerous.
Right.
I'm not afraid to say sorry. I'm not afraid to, I fell so many times,
right.
And that makes me different because people, like you said it very well just now, that people are afraid when they fall, they cannot pick themselves up.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't blame them because we are so conscious of what people think. But what if you eliminate that? Like, I don't care what people say. I really don't, because there's a saying, what people think about you is none of your problem. It's not my problem. So when I have already absorbed that mentality, so what? Go ahead and say what you want. In the end, it's just me, right? So, and I'm not afraid to fail. So that makes me dangerous. So grit and resilience are the number one trait of any leader, I think, that I will respect.
For those who think they may not have it, how do they go and seek for this?
We all have it. We don't learn grit and resilience in our successes. We don't. We learn it in our failures. How many times have I failed? So many times. I cannot count, but the thing is, I keep, and this book, I'll talk to you about it later. This book is about that. It's about me failing. I've learned more from failing than from any of my successes. I can't remember many of my successes. I can remember specifically all my failures.
Can you name one failure that?
Yeah, one of the biggest, I think, that I would like to think at that point was leaving Astro. It was the height of my career, 7-figure salary a year, doing really well. And then I decided that I was a bit unhappy and I left. And I left to an industry that's not so great for me, but I learned a lot. So at that point, I felt it was a failure. Another thing is, like, I made an investment that I lost everything. The book is about this. And I just had to step back and say, what can I learn from this? What can I learn? I guess that is the principle that I have. When you take away the emotion, what can I learn from this? I call it the funeral moment. When it's funeral, everybody's like, oh, so numb and all that. Then take 2 days back and then you realize, oh, he's gone. Now what can I do? So what can I do? What can I learn to not do it again? So you only look at it as a failure because we are myopic. So myopic. We only see it then. But because of my failures, a lot of things that happened. I've written 2 books.
Mm.
I'm doing my PhD now. There's so many things that are happening in my life. I'm doing seminars. I'm traveling the world. But retrospect, if I'd been in Astro, I wouldn't have be doing this podcast. So I guess, yeah.
In your book,
Mhm.
Book of Jake.
Mhm. I'll tell you the story why I named this book. Okay?
Sure, go ahead.
It's some Denzel movie, book of
Eli.
book of what?
Eli.
A Book of Eli, yeah. So I said, hey, that's a cool name. Why don't I call Book of Jake? So that's the name, Book of Jake. So it's quite cool, right?
Yeah. So I'm picking up one of the things that you mentioned.
Sure.
It's in chapter 15.
Mhm.
And it talks about do you need it now?
Mhm.
The art of delayed gratification.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people are very impatient of being or doing something.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's conformity. Everybody's have it. I need to have it also. Everybody's got that car. I need to have it also. Everybody's, what will people think? So to me, you see, and you need to take this with a pinch of salt. My ability not to care about what people think is one of my strongest assets. Because, like I said, what will people say? We come from traditional parenting and programming, like, apa dia orang kata? What will people say? So we are worried about what will people say. But what if we take it out? So to me, I don't care. I go walk around in a pair of shorts. I can have the oldest shoes. My father lived all his life without even owning a car. I'm not saying having good things are wrong, but I'm saying have it for the right reason. So when I talk about delayed gratification, it also means our attitude. What if we can stop everything and just focus on the goal and take away everything that detracts us from the goal? Then we become powerful. And that's how I operate. I tell people the distance between you and what you want is all the things that stand in your way. Take it out. What will they say? Apa orang kata? Your neighbors, your auntie, your uncle. I'll give you a small example. When I was going to get converted to Islam I was 19 when I got converted. The whole stigma of it, and my mother came to me and she says, God, this one cannot, that one cannot, your father, But then I says, Ma, I'll still be a great son for you. And I've proven it over and over. So, my relatives then who were like, he's gone. But this is the same person, right? So if I worry about what people say, that means I've given the control or the power to them. But what if I own my own power? And I tell people this is something that I teach people. It's just own your power. Personal delayed gratification is that. Do I need it now? Do I need the car now? Who am I trying to impress? So that to me is very important. And social media is amplifying this reversely. People showing their business class tickets, this, that. Oh, I need to have it. And then anxiety. And so that grows. So I guess you have to understand what you want, what you don't want. Do I need it now? Yeah.
How do they have kind of checkpoint consciousness to say, I got to take a step back? Because some may not even understand there's a need to take a step back.
You don't actually. You have to be in. Honestly, I sympathize with a lot of people because usually you are, and I always say this, that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with, right? So if your 5 people are like that, what do you expect? I'll give you an example. Coldplay came to Malaysia. Everybody wanted Coldplay tickets, right? Why?
So everybody wants it.
But why? Because it was in trend, like pickleball. I need to play pickleball. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I haven't played a pickleball game in my life because I got other sports to pursue. But everybody needs to be in there because they feel fear of missing out, FOMO. And also, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that you must have your priorities. I'm a person who's terrible in so many things, Raja. 80% of the stuff that I do, I'm dyslexic. I'm terrible at so many. But the 20% of the things I do, I'm very good. See? So I don't want to follow the trend. I want to be the outlier. So, and that road is very unpopular. But I'm not doing it for anybody. Except for me, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of leaders and authority, do you think that people come to you more often than now because you had a position before?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'll tell you this. Every day, And my wife is fascinated by this. Every day I get stopped by people who have seen me on social saying something that has affected them. Every day. Even today, while I was having breakfast, somebody comes and says, Datuk Jack says, yeah, I like what you said the other day. And people say that. But this didn't happen when I was CEO, right? Because I was so consumed being CEO. You understand? So you must not confuse titles with leadership, Leadership has got nothing to do with titles. It's us being affirmative in actually leading people. Managing and leading are two completely different things. And I'm sure you know that. You've spoken about that. So if you ask me, do people reach out to me more now for lead? Definitely. Because I'm actually explaining it,
So when you were leading teams back then, was your team afraid of you?
To a certain point, yes. I'll tell you why. Because my strength and my weaknesses are the same. I'm impatient. And because I am trained to win, I guess I'm impatient and I want things done a specific way why I cannot. So I used to hold on to things a lot. But these days I learned to let go a little. Let go, so I trust people a little bit more. I realize that you have to allow people to do it. So the second in command, what do you think about this? I still can improve there. But at that time I was managing rather than leading. Then I became CEO. When I have my senior team meeting, get their opinions, get their thoughts on it, and then we pursue whatever we want to do. So it has changed a lot. So I've gone from, we use the term transactional to transformative on people leadership and servant leadership. I've gone more to servant leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
But where is the line between pushing people and breaking people? How would we?
It's language.
Control? Yeah.
It's actually language. It's actually a language. It's actually how you phrase things. You can say, "What the hell?" Or you can say, I really want to know what happened. Why didn't you think about this? That's the two different ways. It's just language. And Malaysia is still very transactional. Because you know who I am, and that kind of tone and stuff like that. Instead of saying he might have had a bad day, his children might have been sick. Ask him, no, what's wrong? You've been slacking off for the last 2 weeks. You're not up to mark. Is there anything that I can help you with? So unfortunately, we're dealing with another generation already. There is a gap. Yeah.
Talking about our new generations coming up, and we see you pivoting to tech and AI and all these things. And that's where I think this new second society is very much, maybe I wouldn't say the word comfortable, but I think they are more native in that sense.
Yes.
How do you see what you're doing would grow in the future?
Which specifically?
Your AI, your work on AI, digital twins.
Okay, so I'm just jumping on trends and seeing how I can grab it faster than anybody else. To me, it is something Chen Chao, my good friend, told me. He says, you find a problem to solve. Okay? So, and that's what I do. Most of the time, I'm trying to solve a problem. Because when you try to solve a problem, then there's supply and demand also. In terms of age and the acceleration of AI, it's 10x. Dash, when I first spoke to him, Dakshinamurthy, he told me this is going to be 10x, 50x, and it's the truth. Every morning I spend 45 minutes just studying AI. What's in the news? What's happening? Has Claude got this? Has this? The connectors are doing this. Kimi K2 is this. Manus is doing this. So I'm studying it. It is not because I have to, but if I want to exceed, or surpass people, I have to be ahead of it.
Yeah.
So it is not an age thing, I guess.
Yes.
Whether you want to do it or not. And I was the first to do a AI DJ for Fly FM.
Yeah.
Bank Riot uses an AI-generated influencer that I use. Now I've started a company called Proxify, which is we're doing digital twins. So the whole premise of it is, why should we let people at home creating AI influencers? Why don't we take Raja and create a digital twin? So Raja now can speak different languages and do so many things. So that was the whole premise. That means you now make money rather than an AI influencer, right? That's the whole premise of it, yeah.
And you spoke about age and getting into new areas, right? Some would want to retire. They don't want to do anything anymore.
Just
That's a
fair.
choice.
Just
It's a
fine,
choice,
yeah.
right? It's a choice, right? But some may not know what to do next, right? So how do we don't ensure everybody goes from the same bandwagon. We can't control, right? But what kind of mindset they should have to be what you are doing?
Okay, so you need to be very curious. When we are in a job, most of the times we think that's our life, and that's wrong. You know, I quote Dash again, who talks about entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, which is you can be working in a company and still start a side hustle on the side. And I have so many side hustles, from DJing to being a fitness trainer to writing a book to coaching in a seminar to coaching people. I have so many, and I'm leveraging my strengths. So people think that their work represents them, and that's the mistake. So, like, I coached somebody who worked in a large restaurant chain as an accounts person, and they laid him off. I said, "Do you know how to bake?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "Make some sourdough." Now he sells sourdough, and he's happy. So again, what is the measure of success? Is it the title? Is it happiness? What is happiness? So I guess start. Even if it's small, start. Play the long game. Play the long game, you know. Yeah.
And perhaps must have a purpose towards what you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. So understand supply and demand. So if you're doing something so great and nobody wants it, then you're doing the wrong thing, you know. But look at your failures as pivots, as learning points. Look at your, you know, I said, how do you adapt to that ability to see what people want? You don't. We don't know what we want. Most people don't know what they want. You know, nobody knows what's going to viral. It virals, right? So we keep adapting. Of course, data is important. What do people want? Like the coffee. Remember the Mexican bun? What happened? Right? So they pivot. So when I talk to leaders, I think the best leaders or the best people in business understand to fail fast. And that's essentially what I do. So I'm going to try this, not going to work, I'm going to move on. You know? So I found my niche. My niche is I love people. I love guiding people. I love talking to people. I love, you know, not in the sense of large, but I love empowering people and learning from people. So I'm using that. So you have to find out what's good for you. Like my wife, she was an astro. Now she started a batik company where they do hand-drawn batik. And that's a niche. She enjoys it now. You know, it's not as glamorous as being an astro and all that. These days you can't say that anymore. But she's enjoying it, yeah.
So when leaders talk about transformation, and your book, Book of Jake, we'll come to your new book later. Your Book of Jake talks about that a lot, right? Because it's going inward.
Exactly.
More than external, right?
Exactly.
So when leaders talk about transformation, they talk about transformation of organization, people, HR processes, and technology and all this stuff. But how much do they spend talking about transforming themselves, right?
Nailed it.
These are C-suite leaders I'm talking about.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Because the simple thing is, it's not a slogan. HR itself has changed how many times? It's just human relation, human capital, people, it's a name. You know what I mean? No, it's just a buzzword, keep changing. And I don't mean any disrespect by it. I'm saying that it needs to start from the top. I'm a Liverpool fan. Are you? No, Manchester. Okay, I'm a Liverpool fan. So I breathe, eat, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp was a person who led not only the club, but the city, and FYI, my MBA is from University of Liverpool. So then you replace him with somebody like Arne Slot. Okay. While he technically he might be good, but he didn't connect with people. Destroyed. So it is the same thing. It has to start with the leaders. It is not just about the bottom line, but it's also about the bottom line. How do we find the best people to work in collaboration for the final goal? That's actually leadership in a company, right? How do you find the best people to work together? Not the best people, the best people to work together, and I give them the how would you say, the allowance to be able to make decisions, ensure and trust that they reach the end goal. That's it. When they have a little gap, then we address the gap. That's leadership. Leadership is not doing the job. Leadership is being able to consolidate all these talents to be able to, for the end outcome. Yeah.
In the corporate side,
Mm.
there's board, there's your shareholders, you have many stakeholders that you got to manage on top of your daily operations and all the stuff, right? So it's getting tougher and tougher today because there's a lot of impatience now because results are getting faster because of thanks to AI and no thanks to AI, right? So board wants faster results, more ROI, numbers getting bigger and bigger. So then what is the role of, say, the board themselves to take a step back and say that, there must be some transformative work done even at the people level, which I don't think so many people speak about it.
I've dealt with a couple of boards, and you're right, they're very impatient. Short-term gain is for them more what they desire than long-term. Like what Jeff Bezos says, I'm not going to give you this allowance. I'm going to, reinvest it back in the company. Guess we need to be able to think long-term like that. Unfortunately, we are not there yet. Very few people have the ability to actually understand this. I've never seen a great CEO says, you know what, hang on, we're going to, due to this, we're going to go a deficit for the next 2 quarters, but we're going to reinvest this money, put it back on AI, understand this. I haven't seen it yet. If I have, somebody should let me know, but I haven't seen it yet.
Why is that happening? Is that fear of the board or fear?
Yeah, I guess it's the I don't know all the answers to this, but from what I understand, it is a lot of pressure to deliver. You're only as good as your last game, and with the market, especially from the industry I came from, the media industry is just slumped. You can see Astro shares have tanked. You can see there's a lot of pressure to deliver. And this is not their fault. This is the fault of not hedging for the future 10 years ago. That has happened. And what is that we call? We call that, leadership that did not anticipate this. Yeah.
In the world of content, media, now animation, digital twins, and all these things that's happening today, we get a lot of noises in the media, right? There's a lot of distraction. There's no focus today. Today there's a post on X on something, and then you see LinkedIn there's something. How do we drive the focus on market and product? You've been in this game for many years, right?
I'm glad you asked me this because it's a strategy. So every platform has got a different purpose. Like TikTok is videos. It's talking head videos. It's guys dancing and all that. You don't see me. I use TikTok as a push medium for me. Got something good video, I push it. LinkedIn's is a huge platform for me because it's where I get my leads and all that. And I don't force sell anything, So LinkedIn doesn't work for companies. LinkedIn works for people. I have my company on LinkedIn, so it doesn't do well. I do better on LinkedIn. So Facebook is a push medium via Meta's ecosystem. So I use Instagram. It pushes on Facebook. It pushes back on Threads. There's another zone. So it depends on what you want to do. Here's the point. The point is, yes, there's some dilution. But we must understand, people share things. If I like something, like the girl American Malaysian who went on Australian cooking show, it says roti canai or something like that. I jumped on it faster than anybody else, created a carousel, pushed it out onto LinkedIn, onto Instagram, and then pushed into Threads. Just my posting, more than 1 million.
Wow.
Because why? Suddenly, timing is critical already. So we are not saying that with the advent of new social media platforms, it's going to get harder. We need to be tactical. I wouldn't push something that I don't want onto TikTok or depending. So even you must have complete understanding of resolution size, ratio size, and all that, and how do you actually put it? Like I put it on this. I can't put it on stories on this resolution because it's 16:9 or 9:16. You have to have good, knowledge on this. So I'm enjoying this because I realized that with the advent of AI, I don't need 20 people. I was just telling you, I'm a one-man company, solopreneur. So it's possible. Yeah.
And looking back, again, this book, this is a book of Jake, right? What would you say to our listeners out there, top 3 things that they must learn from this book? Because it says a must read. Right?
Okay.
So what can they learn?
Okay. Number one is, and this is something that I talk a lot about, it's about, people say connect the dots, but I say build the dots first. You see, how do you connect the dots if they're not there? So everything that I have in my life is because I've built relationships along the way. So when I want to move to the next step, there's somebody that I know. Build connections. Number 2, you cannot outwork bad habits. You have to be, the early worm, the early bird catches the worm. You have to outwork everybody. And there's no substitute for it. Talent is only so much. Number 3, play the long game. Play the long game. If you think that's not working, then shift. Play the long game. People are impatient. I read about this sushi master who's been 60 years doing it and still learning. The sushi chef. So it is the same thing. Play the long game.
Right.
Yeah.
And where does personal branding sit?
So important. Market is personal branding is, to me, is so important. A lot of people think personal branding is creating somebody you're not. No. Wherever you see Jake is as authentic as possible. You will hear me talk the same way. You will hear me, say the same things about life, about this. That's my brand, and I won't move away from that, right? So personal branding is amplifying what that can put you up front. So, for example, when you talk about Simon Cowell, what do you think? Fears and all that. So that's his personal brand.
Yeah.
But he's honest. You see, he's built his personal brand around that. Putin. What do you think about Putin? Direct, same thing, fear and all that, direct. So personal brand is something that we have to generate authentically. So the worst that can happen to you is you have an not authentic personal brand. And I've seen it. I'm not going to mention names, but I've seen it. So why personal brand is important is the market is very saturated, Raja. It's, I know good people who are not even seen. And they feel that we have to discover them on our own accord. You can't. The algorithms are controlling everything, right?
Right.
So you have to abundantly personal brand. And that's the difference between, to me, a 500 ringgit speaker and a 10,000 ringgit speaker. They can be the same, but because of the personal brand, suddenly you project. Why do you actually buy a Rolex? It shows it's the watch, right? So personal brand sells an experience.
So how should one start?
Get to my seminar, but preview. But besides that, ask yourself, who are you? That's a tough question to answer. I ask people, who are you? And they cannot answer that. I said, come figure it out. In 3 words, tell me, who are you? Mine, I like people. Very simple. And it took me years to get here, right? Once you find out who you are, then find out your purpose, And ask yourself, if you're talking to your friends, why are they listening to you? What do they like about you? So this is a test that I do with everybody. I'm doing one with a group of VPs that I'm training next week. I said, WhatsApp 3 of your friends. What's the first word you think about when it comes to me? And be honest as possible. And those verbatims are the one that develop. Because that's personal branding, right? What do you think about it? Oh, Jake's arrogant. Okay lah. But I like to say I'm confident. So it's different. Learn to find out who you actually are.
That's a good acid test.
Yeah. It is. But you must be able to take, because...
Yeah. Because a lot of people do profiling. What I learned a bit about profiling tests like MBTIs, and there are dozens of them out there, right? It's about what you think about yourself.
Harrison's and
Harrison interview and all that stuff, right? It's about what you think about yourself, but others may not think the same of you.
Isn't that branding?
Yeah.
The whole purpose of branding is one is to perception, and then you build the branding, on top of that. Yeah.
And coming to the point that you raised in our earlier part of this segment, is you spoke about your dad and your guru, I'm sure
Toba,
that,
yeah.
yeah. Tell me how they've played a very significant role in shaping who you are
Oh,
today.
massive. My father's a simpleton. I told you, he's a railway man, one job all his life, railway clerk, start till the end, simple. But I learned the most important thing on his funeral, respect. And everybody said the same thing. They echoed the same thing. Father's a really nice man, lah. Abu, your father, I'll take the shirt off his back, lah. Really nice man. So my father was a really nice person. So that to me is, you cannot discount that.
Yeah.
And this is a simple person.
Yeah. Because I read an article that you've mentioned, your late father, respectfully, he had nothing, but a lot of people turned up.
Yeah.
Because he was a nice man.
He was a really nice person. He was a really nice person. He would talk to everybody and he's joking. He was a really nice person, And he didn't have desires like normal people I need a car. He didn't have. But he said, I'm not going to judge him on that. But what he taught me was, be good to people. Speak. If you can help. You can help. My late master, different animal. I carry his name. My name is Yaakob Bakhtiar. Bakhtiar is his name. So he taught me to dream. I'm a DJ, Raja. I'm a DJ. I'm a club DJ. I would be in a drunk, getting wasted somewhere. If not for him, because he told me you're smarter than you think. You're smarter than you think. Do not discount yourself. You can do this. Whenever I go and whinge and whine to him, he says, "Stop it. Stop it. You're smarter than this. You are better than this." So he programmed me. So I started to believe in myself that I can do this. How is a boy from Santol who's got no education, no degree, no nothing, work for a prime minister, run a company? So he made me believe this is, you're better than this, you're better than all, you outwork them. So that has been ingrained in my head, embedded in my head. So it doesn't go away, right? So even in tough times, I sort of draw back to that. Yeah.
And also observe that you spoke about spirituality.
Yes.
With the guru and all. How?
Well, I don't talk about this very often, but I am very religious.
Yeah.
But besides of course, my religion has taught me a lot. But besides, you have just to be a nice person. You have to just you can't please everybody. But what religion has taught me is, okay, this is what I tell most of my students. I said, look, my biggest fear is to stand on, after my death, to meet my maker. And my maker takes out a book like this and says, "Oh, Jake, Abdullah, hey, I planned all this for you. What happened? How come you didn't reach there?" So me, I'm always amazed that I'm always learning something, because to me, I have to use every morsel of my potential before I am gone. So I'm 61 this year. I'm doing things that people half my age don't do. And why? Because I can. That brings me back to what I said earlier, because I'm not a conformist. Oh, kau dah tua lah, kau kena relax. No. Like you go hiking and stuff, like it's the same thing, backpacking. I'm impressed because you're doing something passionate. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, spirituality is one thing, is finding peace within yourself. You don't have to be zen and all that. If your spirituality is playing a guitar, so be it. You're happy. I know I've seen Clapton, I've seen some of the best guitarists playing, but me, my religion has taught me to be, look, use the best you can, because that's how you honor your maker.
You also spoke a lot about discipline.
Yeah.
Tell us.
People hate this about me. I'm very disciplined.
Yeah. So how or why people do not have discipline?
Fear. You can't commit to a lifestyle of that. That's why even in like Ramadan, 30 days fasting, it's discipline. But when you break fast, do you break fast like that? So I always tell people. So it's fear. It's holding on to fear of changing. But what if we can understand? What if we can see the end goal? And I tell this very openly to people, and they laugh at me, When they ask me, what's your ambition? I say, I want to be a billionaire. I don't want to be a millionaire. I've been there, done that, lost it, got it back, lost it again. I want to be a billionaire. But it's inconceivable for a lot of people. But I have the discipline to get there. Whether I get or not, it's okay, lah. So it is, what are you willing to give up? Coming back to delayed gratification, what are you willing to give up to attain that? That to me is, I'm not forcing this onto anybody, but you don't have the right to complain if you're not willing to put in the work. You haven't earned the right yet.
Right. And there's also either a fine line or big difference between passion and discipline. Some may get confused with passion and discipline and say, I'm passionate about this, but then they may not have the discipline to drive it,
One of my favorite people that I look up to, is passed away, is Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant wrote the book Mamba Mentality. And when I read the book, it changed my life, actually. Not because it was brilliantly written, because it was so clear in front of me that I didn't see it. And he states very simply, look, I outwork everybody. If I'm up 4 o'clock, when they come at 6, every day there's 2 hours, I'm ahead of them. I do it twice a day. That's 4 hours, compounded over 365 days. And then over 4 years, even if you start now, you'll never be able to catch me. So my complete mantra is that, it's like, I'm going to outwork everybody. It's uncomfortable. That means I will be unpopular, unlike, doesn't matter. But I get closer to my full potential, right?
Walk us through your day-to-day. What do you do?
Okay, like today, I'll just tell today. Today is a Saturday. When I was in Astra, I'd probably be asleep at about 9. But I'm a morning person generally. But even morning also 7:30. Now I'm up by 4:30. People find that very hard to believe. I'm up by 4:30, chill for a while, drink water and all that. I'll do all my graphics and stuff. By the time it's 5:30, 5:45, really get ready for press, super press. I do my workout. I do a cardio. Cook some breakfast if I have to eat. And wife and I will just chat. We'll go for a walk. Then I start every other possible work that I have. By the time I'm 12 o'clock, where people midday, I finish my day. Then I start planning for the next day. Who do I have to see, follow leads, what do I have to catch up? So it's constant. I don't look at it as work. I look at it as enhancement, probably till 11 o'clock at night sometimes. But I try to get about decent 5-6 hours. If there's anything I should improve, Raja, it's my sleep. I'm the type of person who gets up at 2 o'clock, just, I should work. Which is not healthy. I don't encourage it. Yeah.
So how someone build discipline? I know, like, for example, you are a very disciplined person going to gym and doing your workouts, etc. Some people start, they'll do for a few months and then they drop off, right? Some people can just keep going and going, right? So there's a big
because
difference.
I didn't build discipline. I built a system. You see, you got to build a system. Whatever I told you just now is a system. You see, systems are not meant to fail. If we build those, very flash in the pan kind of habits, they will fail. Mine is, regardless what, I got to get up and pray. When you getting up and pray at 5:30 in the morning, you can't fall asleep. So I get up at 4:30 now. It's just, why? Because there's nobody awake. There's nobody awake, and I'm looking at things differently. By the time 5:30, I'm awake. Say my prayer. So again, like I said, don't build habits. Build a system for your habits. This is where we fail. And don't be so hard on yourself. You will drop off a few times, but that's the whole process. So even right now, if you ask me, what do I want to do better? I told you, I want to sleep better. So I'm working on it. Yeah.
And about your new book that's coming up in July.
It just came out actually today, but this is not the final version. The printer gave it to me today. This is Be Comfortable. Yeah.
So the book's title is Be Uncomfortable. Talk us through about this book.
Well, long story short, because I want you to buy the book, but I'll give you the gist of the story. About 5 years ago, I have to say that I've been very fortunate, Raja, because, through my Astro days and, like I said, and working here and working for corporations, and I was very well paid. Very well paid. I won't lie about it. much more than I could have imagined. So I invested in an investment during COVID, just tanked, and I lost everything.
Wow.
Everything. A normal person would have found a spot in Penang Bridge and jumped off. I lost everything. Lost everything. So my wife and I we were talking, and I just sat there for a while, for a few hours, and I said, "What do I do?" One is you feel stupid, feel stupid. It couldn't have happened. It was nothing illegal. It was all legal, and we were fighting the court case and stuff like for legal reasons. I can't say what it is, but this book is about that, how I picked myself up. And truth be told, in the last 5 years or 6 years since this happened, I've learned more, met more people, done more things, written 2 books, done my PhD, done seminars, done travel more countries because of that. Why? Because I needed to kick up my behind, you know what I mean? And that was it. And I asked God, I was, "Lord, why did I lose everything? I'm an honest person." I got my answer. The answer is in the book. I got my answer. And after that, I never once worried about it anymore. So what's mine's mine will come. If I had the money at that time, and millions, I laugh at it now, thinking about how many Porsches I could have bought. But anyway, but when I think about it now, it's just, what could I have done differently? Maybe, not maybe, for sure, this fall has triggered new things, Gone to AI, gone to education, gone to meet people, sitting on the podcast and news. Oh, wow, so I guess we can sit down and complain.
Yeah.
And I hear this all the time and I laugh. "Oh, you don't understand lah." The whining, the whinging, playing victim. So one thing I don't do is I don't play victim. I used to. I don't play victim anymore because I've had a large fall. And this book is about all the attributes it takes to pick yourself up. This is very powerful. It talks about how I discovered my faith again, and it's just amazing. But again, like I said, look, you have to do the best for yourself. And people fail. Why? Because they are more focused on what other people think. So I call that the power. So, especially the Indians, the Malays, and not so much the Chinese, and I don't mean this in any way, any negative way, but tengoklah jiran sebelah kita, you know what I mean? The Indians parla, you know what I mean? So look at the person. So, and we tend to fall into that trap. But what if you don't? What if you don't care? What if you take the power back? Say, what do you want to say? You say lah. What is a 61-year-old man spinning in a club? Me. Why not? So I am not worried about stigma, and that makes me very dangerous. Yeah.
So there must be a point in life for everybody to make that change. In your case, it was during that COVID period, unfortunately. Everyone goes through different phases in their lives. But to take away the power from people and have it to yourself so that you can decide and you can think everything on your own so that you are comfortable. Does that mean that you got to be uncomfortable first to become comfortable?
Always. Nobody ever learned anything from being comfortable. Always. And I will say this over again. I have learned more from my failures than ever from my successes. And people tend to be so comfortable. That analogy I got in the gym. There's something they call progressive overload. You can't grow muscle if you keep lifting the same weights. You got to change the tempo. You got to change the speed. You got to change the weight. You got to, you know what I mean. So it's like that. You cannot grow without being normal. You have to change your supplements. You got to change your nutrition. You got to lift a little differently. Improve. You can't. It's uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. Even in a relationship, when it comes too comfortable, it's called habituation. Stephen Butler spoke about this. It's called habituation, right? Habituation is you get used to the person and you forget, you don't realize. So that's very dangerous. So these are small pivots, bumps that we sort of, hang on, I got it, Even in a relationship, like I tell people, when's the last time you told your wife you love her? It's the same thing. Yeah.
So when is this book going to be out?
Inshallah, by the end of July. It took me 3 years to write this book.
Right.
When I wrote Book of Jake, I wrote it fast because my brother-in-law passed away before the book.
Right.
He had glioblastoma, and so is my good friend. And these are things that actually shaped my thinking. So this book, I wrote it so many times, and I said, that's not the truth, or that's half the truth, or it could have been better. So I kept rewriting it, and then finally I said, you know what, I like this. So it took 3 years, and maybe the timing is right. So yeah, so this is coming out end of July, inshallah. So I'll keep you posted. Thanks for highlighting the book. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Most welcome.
yeah.
What does it take to write a book?
Look, depends what kind of book you want to write. Like, to me is, why would anybody want to hear my story? So my book is a memoir / self-help / leadership book. So why would anybody want to hear my story? When I tell them my story in person, they get shocked, So, and I realized that this book is not about me. It's about talking about me to help you understand we're the same. It is just that I've had a better support system. Mother, father, my late guru, and I honor all of them in this book. I says, I'm going to see my mom later tonight, and she'll tell me the same thing. Are you okay, boy? You okay? She still calls me boy, and I'm 60. You know what I mean? My father, he died when he was 73, 16, 17 years ago, almost 18 years ago. Simple man, taught me simplicity. My late master, what did he teach me? He taught me that, look, if you want to dream big. Don't waste your time playing the small game. Why I say billionaire? Even if I don't become a billionaire, I'll still have a lot of millions. So I think that we need to detach from what people program us to believe. And this is not easy. And I will say that this is not easy because we are influenced. Like, I'm glad I didn't listen to my mother when I was growing up because she wanted me to become an engineer. I became a DJ, right? I studied electrical engineering and I gave up halfway. I said, I love math, but I hate the other stuff. So sometimes you have to be very clear about what you want. You will fall so many times.
And you have a twin sister.
Yeah, I do. I do. My twin sister is in the book. So she's 5 years older than me, and she's amazingly beautiful, and she's a really nice person. I'm meeting her later also. She's the joy of my life, She's an amazing person. Lived a very simple life. Her husband passed away also a couple of years ago. So yeah, and all these things have sort of molded me as a person. So to those people who are seeking for a leadership book to help you, it's not, can guide you. What you really need to do is understand the 3-4 people who have been pivotal in molding you to who you are, and go back and ask them or go and ask the person. Like, I believe this. Go and ask people I asked Tun this. I said, Tun, how do you stay 101? Cut the drama. Told me. So go and get it from the horse's mouth. What can I learn from you? What can I learn from you? Even our enemies, we can learn from them.
Yep.
The problem is our generational and our cultural programming prohibits us from being able to ask questions. I spoke about this, and I'll get into a lot of trouble, Raja. Generally, we are trained to be listeners and affirm with everything. We are trained to mentally memorize everything. We don't have the ability to have a Socratic conversation.
Correct.
We cannot be challenged. Hey, why you challenge me? We don't know how to have an argument. Like I said, improve your argument. Don't raise your voice. Desmond Tutu said that. It's brilliant. So I think we need to be teach our children to ask questions. Why can't I do this? What's wrong with this? Our whole education system has, and I believe I can get into a lot of trouble, has failed us. We become memory people, and these days, what's memory? I got ChatGPT, and I got Claude, and I got Kimi K2, and I got Manus and stuff like that. I don't need to think. So yes,
Amazing stuff. I've learned a lot today, actually.
I learned a lot from you too, Raja. You're doing some good work with this podcast. Usually, I'm the one who's asking all the questions. I've got some books for you if you want to give it out for
Sure. Thank you. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Sheikh Abdullah.
Thank you.
Amazing unplugged session. Hope to see you again.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks.